and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of The Wrestling Realm. Now, on today's special episode, the real Dwayne Allen and Mr. Main Event BDuB are going to bring to you some of the greatest cage matches, our top 5 cage matches. So,
before we get started,
okay,
let me go ahead and say something real fast to the fans. Let me make something perfectly clear to anyone who ever watches this video out there in the wrestling realm. Mr. Main Event and the real Dwayne are the only ones who determine what makes this show successful. So if you out there and you have something to say about the success of the show and how we determine the success of the show, you need to sit back, enjoy yourself, and be a fan and engage in a conversation in which we provide to everyone else who thinks the same way with the intelligence and the mind of the business. Now that we've gotten that cleared up, let's start the show.
Woo! Somebody lighted a fire in you.
It is what it is.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had a chance, make sure you go out and get a copy of the WWE's greatest cage matches. So, and I'm pretty sure there's other cage matches out there. We're going to go over some of our favorites. Sit back, relax. Real Dwayne Allen, go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we have our top 5 cage matches. Feel free to upload your favorite cage matches to the Wrestling Run page. We want to hear what you think. This is why we're here. These are just our top 5. We don't think these are the top 5 of all time. But we're wrestling fans. We're discussing our favorites, which is what we want you guys to do with us. Discuss your favorites. Feel free to chime in at whatever point. Tweet us, put us on Facebook, whatever you got to do. Upload a video if you have to. We can put it on our page or whatever we got to do. But we're going to get into it. So let's start it off. Top 5 cage matches. My number 5 would be I'm going to start the show off controversial. Not necessarily controversial in the way of the business, but controversial in the way I do things.
Okay.
And it is a TNA cage match. It's from TNA's Lockdown 2009. Sting versus Mick Foley for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
Wow, 2 cougars, old birds.
Yeah, but see, and the reason I like this match so much is because I don't care what promotion you're in. It's still Sting. It's still Mick Foley.
Yeah, I like it.
And even though these guys are older and maybe past their prime, these guys pulled out the stops for this match. It was a good match. I enjoyed it from start to finish. Lagged at times, but for a cage match at their age, for this day and age, for TNA to provide what they would call at the time the 6 sides of steel was a pretty good cage match in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That is my number 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but it must have been a good match. It made his list. So my number 5 is a match that was on Monday Night Raw for the World Heavyweight Championship. This match, the title did change hands, and it did it in a very creative way. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I personally didn't think that I was going to get my wish during this match, where the title would change hands.
What you talking about?
Let me get there. I'm
sitting like, what? What is
but yeah, I was sitting there watching it, and then I even went back and watched it a couple of weeks ago.
It's a cage match?
This is a cage match. Monday Night Raw.
Let's see what it is.
December 2008.
Okay.
And that was between Chris Jericho and Batista. The man who, Chris Jericho being, who I've said is the number 6 most impactful wrestler in WWE history.
Okay.
But yeah, Jericho beating Batista. You remember, for those of you who saw the match, Jericho took a piece of the cage
metal, on top
and just kept beating Batista. And you see the animal Batista, all of a sudden he falls off the cage and he's sitting there looking like, I just lost my title. And that just goes to show you how intelligent Jericho is with that finish.
Right.
And how great he is, and how he just, he tamed the animal that night.
Definitely.
And I've gone on to say this time and time again, I do think that Chris Jericho's Intercontinental title reigns were better than his world title reigns. However, I will admit that I like a lot of his finishes. The way he comes up with remember when he won the title at Unforgiven after him and Shawn Michaels had a hellacious match, and then he came out there. CM Punk couldn't perform,
Okay.
And then Jericho would go ahead and win the title, and he's sitting up there holding it like this.
I know, right? Yeah.
You know. So that's my number 5.
It's actually funny you mentioned that. Actually, at the last minute, I changed my number 4.
Okay.
It's been so many cage matches out there, man. It's been tons of cage matches that we've all seen from all types of promotion. But my number 4 is CM Punk versus Chris Jericho on Monday Night Raw in 2008. I always thought that CM Punk and Chris Jericho had really great chemistry in the ring. And when they got in the ring, they had that cage match. I just thought it was probably one of the best cage matches I had ever seen. And I was surprised that we got to see that on Raw. With Chris Jericho really being a big deal and CM Punk on his way up, you know, sort of solidified himself in the main event scene. Probably one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you know, and that's on the DVD. No, that one's not on the DVD.
No, they I think one of my honorable mentions, I didn't have them at first, but now I do. Now that I think about it, honorable mention that was on the greatest cage matches of all time DVD produced by the WWE. So your number 4.
My number 4, and I'm gonna give a special shout out to my boy Marcus Williams, because this is his number 1 favorite cage match. Shout out to Marcus. Thanks for being a part of the show.
Appreciate it, bro.
My number 4 is Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit.
No, definitely.
You know, from Raw 2001 in June.
That was
what a match. You know, and when you think of this, you automatically think of Kurt Angle going for the moonsault.
Yeah.
And you think of Chris Benoit with the diving headbutt, you know. Ooh. A move that when you read the book, Ring of Hell, it is often said that Benoit shouldn't have been doing headbutts because of the concussions.
Right.
You know, but Benoit would do them anyway. And often, a lot of times, in this match, I don't believe he did it either, shielding his face.
Right.
So, you know, this is just a great match. You know? And if you remember, I know you're not a fan of Chris Benoit as much.
Right.
But the story he's told in the ring when he was with Kurt Angle.
Oh, yeah, no, that will probably be one of the better feuds I've seen Chris Benoit involved in a lot of the angles. Because you had 2 great in-ring technicians. And that was probably, I think that was their 5th match, as a matter of fact. I mean, not the 5th match, but, you know, their major, you know, one of their major showdowns. Yeah. As far as that cage match, because, I mean.
Yeah, because they had fought at the Backlash, and then they fought for Kurt Angle's medals, I think, in a ladder match. Yeah. At Judgment Day that year. Right. So, you know, between those, they had a lot of good matches on SmackDown where, you know, they would try to out-German suplex each other. Right. Everybody remembers the match at the Royal Rumble. Probably one of the best matches in Royal Rumble history. Right. Where you had near fall after near fall. And, you know, Benoit and Kurt refusing to tap to each other's finisher. Right. So, you know, but this match was definitely another classic by the 2.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably, I remember seeing it on one of Raw's greatest matches tapes, I think VHS they had at the time. And I enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm not a major fan of Chris Benoit and his work, but as far as that was concerned, that was probably one of my the ones I probably liked the most about Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle.
You know, I can't wait till we do that next show, because you'll be able to address why.
What's the next show?
Character Matters.
Once again, I still never, I don't know when the
this
next
was
show.
Your idea.
I be forgetting, man.
That mine, I tell you. Nobody thinks like the real Dwayne now.
It's always running. I can't turn it off.
Yeah, so what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Matt Hardy versus Edge at Unforgiven 2005. Okay. For all you guys who don't remember that, which I'm pretty sure you do, that was when the love triangle situation happened with Matt Hardy, Lita, and Edge. They had fought on numerous occasions, SummerSlam, where the match got turned to a no contest. They called the match because Matt Hardy was bleeding. That was a pure fight. You didn't see any wrestling moves in that match. Right. They also had a street fight on Raw, in which a lot of people remember Matt Hardy doing the side effect off the stage with Edge, and that match when, you know, was in no kind of same thing situation. And then finally culminated into this cage match, and then later on he had a loser leaves Raw match. But this cage match was probably one of the most brutal matches, cage matches that I've seen in my generation that I enjoyed the most, because that's when Matt Hardy first came back and that fire was lit under his tail, and he was coming back with the whole, you know, Matt Hardy will not die attitude versus the whole Mattitude version, whatever he was at the time, V1 thing he was doing. Yeah. But that was probably when I liked Matt Hardy the most as a singles competitor, and I think he had the most chance to be successful. And that was also a time where Edge was also, at the time, he was missing Money in the Bank, and he was on his rise of being a huge main event player.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was only a matter of times. The match was brutal. It was very believable, and the finish was sick. The way Matt Hardy did that huge leg drop from the top of the cage.
Oh yeah.
From something about that top of the cage that move, even going back to when Jimmy Superfly Snuka had did the frog splash from the top of the cage at Madison Square Garden, the one that Mick Foley pays tribute to.
Diving splash. When people get out there, no, he did not call it a frog splash.
If you could, if I want to call it a frog, I can call it a frog splash if I want to. So if you got a problem with it, feel free to say what you got to say. So we already discussed this from the jump. So you feel me? If I want to call it a frog splash, it's gonna be a frog splash today. You got a problem with it? You come let me know and I'll address you. That's how we carried it. No, we putting all that to rest. This is the wrestling realm. In case you forgot, don't forget what show you're watching.
My bad.
Like I was saying.
Somebody has really pissed him off.
It is what it is. You feel me? You will see a T-shirt soon that says "It is what it is." Just saying. The wrestling realm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's something about that top of the cage. You know, it's just when you see it and the camera pulls out and they about to do it. And you hear the comments like, "Please don't do this." And then they do it. It's just like, oh,
don't do it, man. Don't do it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's where Joey Styles would have been perfect for all them cage matches.
Like JR was probably one of the best people. He could really sell it. You know what I mean? He really was just like, he was so believable. Like he would say something like, "Come on, think of your kids. You know, don't do this. You know, think of your career." And then they would do it and just be like,
and for that idiot out there who said they learned how to fall and that doesn't hurt, you know what? You can shove it.
There you go.
And JR always had one of them comments.
Yeah.
He always would, and that's the thing I loved about JR. Not to get off subject, but I gotta say this. He always insulted those. He always put those into place. You know, the people who
he definitely did do that. You're right.
Yeah, people we fought against. Wrestling's not real. It's fake.
Yeah.
You know, JR would address that.
I do. I remember hearing that. I heard it a lot on when you watched the King of the Ring match with Mick Foley and the Undertaker. I noticed that. Like you don't picture stuff like that, but then you're right. He did do that. He would always, at the time, somebody was pissing him off, and he would, he would really go in.
Yeah.
But yeah. How about you? You'll go around.
So before we get there, I had a thought.
Okay.
Shout out to my Uncle Troy who got me into wrestling since I was from real little, and I was thinking about how during that Edge and Matt Hardy feud, remember Matt Hardy was fired. And he was like, "Nah, Matt's not coming back. He's fired to stand up." And all of a sudden, Matt shows up on Raw.
Exactly.
And beats up Edge. And then he's like, he showed up one time before, I think.
And
he's
they didn't say his name on TV too. Yeah.
And then the first time, I don't think he beat him up. I think he just did something. And he told me, he's like, "No, that's Matt Striker. That's not Matt Hardy." Then all of a sudden, Matt Hardy beats him up. And then I picked up the phone. He's like, "Yo, yeah, that was him." And like. That joint was crazy.
I remember that because that's what I was confused about. I wasn't sure if that was supposed to happen or not because when I first saw him, he came out the crowd. It had been a while because he had a neck injury.
Right.
And in wrestling years, you off TV 6 months. That's a long, long time. I don't remember how long he was off, but he was off for a while. But when he came back, I remember when I first saw him, they didn't say his name.
Right.
They said someone has come out the audience, and Edge looked at him, and that's when Edge. Security grabbed him, and Edge kicked him in the face, and then that's when you start to see the different stuff where he would get attacked backstage, and they started actually saying his name, Matt Hardy, and that's when Edge came back and said, I told Vince to hire him back.
Right.
I mean, because Edge was at a point where he was ready to get pushed, so he had a little bit of pull.
They had that bite this, I think it was,
right?
When Lita
went in there was pretty much saying like,
And I read an article with by Kevin Eck of Ringpost.com, the Ringpost of the BaltimoreSun.com, and he had an interview with Lita, and he asked her how she felt about that story, and she was like, she didn't like it because it kind of, it aired their dirty laundry, but it had people looking at her in different light, not understanding there was two sides to every story.
And I think that ultimately led to her leaving because she was just saying like, it's getting too like people were really upset with her because at the time Matt Hardy was huge, and a lot of people related to him, and even though WWE has a record of taking personal situations and using them as storylines because they're real. You know what I mean? So why not? That's the best way to do things is to keep it as legit as possible.
Right.
It didn't because fans knew it was real and they were still using it as a storyline, I think it messed things up for her because it's like people were sort of coming at her like, you know, how could you do this? And she's like, yeah, I understand. I did it, but it's my life.
Yeah.
My job is to entertain you in the ring, enjoy that, but what I do in personal life is my business. But it was hard to draw that fine line where fans could say, oh, well, you know, it's even though what she's saying, she doesn't really mean what she's saying to be that malicious because when it was all said and done, they all three of them made up. They was like, you know, because you know we're all cool. They're probably not the best of friends and nothing like that, but they made peace with the situation. Versus, you know, the character on TV where Leo just had no remorse.
Right.
You know, which edged his character by her being his valet at the time. So.
Yep. Rated R superstar.
I think that's when he was born.
Yep. My number 3. This is a classic match to me. A lot of people might not think it's the best match, but when I think of cage matches, this is definitely one I'll keep in my collection. It's one I grew up on. I can remember sitting in my grandmother's room watching this. And this one was for the WWF Championship. SummerSlam.
Okay.
Yes. You guys, all my wrestling gurus out there, all my internet fans, you guys should know what I'm talking about. That was the late and great ravishing Rick Rude versus the Ultimate Warrior. This match I really enjoyed. I used to like watching them two go at it in the ring, you know, and of course, like when I watch Self-Destruction of the Warrior, I realized how bad he was then. Right. But growing up as a you know, back in the day as a kid, Ultimate Warrior is somebody we all gravitated to.
Right.
So, you know, this was definitely one of my favorite matches. So, Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude, enough said for me.
Nice. Moving on?
Yeah. Who's your number 2?
My number 2 match, favorite cage matches. This is a toss-up. Just between my number 1 and my number 2 as far as my favorites. But I'm going to say my number 2 is Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Mankind at SummerSlam 1997.
Yeah, that was a classic.
I've seen this match so many times, and I enjoy it every time I watch it. I often compare what I consider my favorite matches is a match that I can watch over and over again. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, I still can watch it in its entirety and enjoy it. I compare matches like this to the Iron Man match, 60-minute Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12. I've seen that match a billion times, and it's not old to me.
I feel you.
And this is one of those matches. I've seen this on so many different levels. I got it on tape. I've got it on different WWF tapes from the past, and then I got it on certain DVDs, and it just never gets old to me. This is probably one of the... You hear Mick Foley talk about the program that he worked with Hunter Hearst Helmsley at the time, where originally him being a Greenwich snob, a lot of people didn't think he was tough.
Right.
So working with a guy like Mick Foley when he was Mankind, and then later going into Cactus Jack and having the matches they had, it made him credible because he had those knockout, drag-out matches, and it was believable. You know, I think it took Triple H's game to another level because people looked at him and was like, okay, this guy's not just a Greenwich snob. This guy's pretty tough. Right. You know, and I just always enjoyed it. And then, of course, the funny part is in the match where he tries to, he goes to the top to pay homage, I guess, to Jimmy Snuka. And he undoes his shirt. It's supposed to be a lot of people don't realize that it was supposed to be a tattooed heart, because that was when he was making he was still Dude Love at the time as well. He was a tag team champion with Stone Cold. Okay. You know, but he was still going back and forth, and he wanted to pull it open. He's supposed to see a tattooed heart, but they didn't work. So they took a magic marker. So right when you watch the tape or you watch the video, you're gonna see like a big red blob, something there. But he does the flying elbow drop from the top of the cage, and he leaves out, and then the Dude Love music plays, and he starts dancing on his way out. So I mean, I always thought that was funny.
Yeah, definitely.
You can never get enough of Mick Foley, his 3 faces.
And it's so funny because that was the beginning of what we would see out of those two.
Definitely.
You know, later on, 2 years down the line, you see Mick Foley and Triple H go at it again. This time it's the Game Triple H, and you would see series where it's Cactus Jack.
Right. Yeah. You know, they had a couple of bouts, and then it also when Mick Foley decided just to beat Mick Foley because they had the Hell in a Cell match. Yeah. With Mick Foley's first out of his like 13 retirements. Right. You know, how many times he come after that? And that was what, 2000. So.
We're in 2011. Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh boy, my number 2. I'm gonna go way back. You said you like Matt versus Edge.
Yeah.
This cage match featured them two.
Okay.
Unforgiven 2000
All
for
right.
the WWF Tag Team Championship. The Hardys and Edge and Christian.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because that whole summer, the Hardys chased Edge and Christian for the titles.
Right.
You know, I thought that the Hardys were going to get the titles at SummerSlam. It was in North Carolina.
Right.
It was all set. They didn't, you know. But then they came and they ended up going to Unforgiven and winning. And if you remember, this is when Lita was with the Hardys. And she did a Hurricane Rana, if I'm not mistaken, a Hurricane Rana. Like she scaled the cage or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she did a Hurricane Rana. You know what I'm talking about? She did on...
Yeah, definitely. I remember that.
And that was crazy. Like, that was a good match to me. And it's one of my favorites because, you know, that's when, I mean, every day, just like now, but back then, every day, wrestling. You know, get the tape, you know, trade the tape with somebody who saw the pay-per-view.
Right.
Watch it. Come home from school next day, eat a cheesesteak, watch it again. You know.
And cheese was after school?
Yeah. Sometimes. Chicken boxes, salt, pepper, ketchup. Chicken boxes, Baltimore thing, shorty.
Half and half.
Yep. Half and half, iced tea, lemonade.
Yes, sir.
They don't know about that. You know, we got fans all over, so.
Oh, yeah, you know, they might just call it. Never mind.
Y'all gotta come to Baltimore for that. But that was, you know, that was one of them classic matches. So it was something I really, really enjoyed. And, you know, that's one of the matches I can watch over and over again.
I mean, that's what it's about. It's always those matches that you never get tired of. You know what I mean? It's just, it's tons of cage matches that I enjoy, but these, you know.
And see, that's what people gotta realize. When we do our top segments, it's not by scientific reasons.
Right.
You know, it's not by statistics, not by ratings. No, top as the real Dwayne Allen, Mr. Main Event BDuB, being fans of the show. What are our top matches, top cage matches, top feuds, you know, etc.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of people got to realize that this show isn't about us looking at things as if we know what's best and we're declaring what is top. No, we're fans. This is a forum for fans. We're discussing us and we're opening it up to everybody else who don't have a place to do that.
Right.
A lot of people don't have a place to go to talk about these type of things, and we just engage and start. And shout out to our fans. We have a lot of intelligent people that watch the show. I just want to say a shout out. We have a lot of our fans. Thank you, and I commend you for your intelligence because you guys are some of the smartest fans that you actually understand the things we talk. A lot of people look at it and they don't like it because they'd rather watch another show that's kind of stupid. But that's what stupid people need a show too. You know what I'm saying? But so do the smart folks, and I appreciate all our fans. I mean, we've never had a dumb comment on our page. You know, everybody has come in. They said something very smart, and they brought different things. They bring things to the table. You know, they don't just say a biased comment. They sometimes bring up things that maybe we miss or stuff that we don't really pay attention to that they bring to our attention. So, and we appreciate that because that's what it's about. You know, this is the wrestling room. It's the realm of wrestling. It's what we do.
Yeah, big shout outs to my boys, Ronnie Richards and Christopher. So, you know, these guys always, every time since day one, always have something intelligent to say, you know.
Right.
You told me that it was Chris E. who made the comment. I was like, yep, I already know, you know. Chris E., great writer. If you guys don't know, check him out on the Bleacher Report. And you know what? Since we talking about websites, before we get to our number one,
okay,
you know, because I'm going to do a couple plugins, make sure you guys check us out. We're going to UltimateSportsTalk.com.
Yes, sir.
Yep. The Wrestling Realm is going to UltimateSportsTalk.com. That's where you can find some of our tweets. If you're not following us on Twitter, go to Twitter, Wrestling Realm. Join the Facebook fan page. You know, so UltimateSportsTalk.com for all you sports fans. This is heaven. You got wrestling, you got MMA, you got boxing, baseball, basketball, football, hockey. The list goes on and on. Even tennis, soccer. You know, any sport that I didn't name, it's on UltimateSportsTalk.com. You got a host of great writers, including myself, Mr. Main Event BDuB, where I have interviews with people such as the Elder Hart, the great Smith Hart. I got interviews with Larry Legend, interviews with Mia Yim. The list just goes on and on. Also, you know, you gotta check out my boy Mike Knox, who I'm going to reveal to you his favorite cage match. And this is why I saved it before our number ones, because, like I said, Marcus is happened to fall in with my number 4.
Okay.
Mike Knox, That fell in his #1 cage match. It was a classic match, you know. He showed his age right there. Ronnie Garvin and Ric Flair. Now, when Mike sees this, I'm pretty sure he's going to let us clarify, because for those of you who don't know, these two had 2 cage matches. Where the first one, Ronnie Garvin hits the sunset flip, wins the world title from Ric Flair.
Right.
And then the second one, Ric Flair comes back and gets his title back. Right. So, I'm about to say Ronnie. Mike, make sure you clarify which one of these cage matches was indeed your favorite. Last but not least, the real Dwayne Allen's #1 cage match of all time.
My all-time favorite cage match would be between 2 probably the most technically sound wrestlers in the business that's ever graced us.
What?
Great, pure 90s wrestling. Like I said, I love 90s WWF.
Right.
Well, I guess most people will consider that dead period in between. I guess between
94 and 95.
Yeah.
94 and 96.
94, 96 before things, it's but I mean, I love wrestling from the 90s. I just like, right now I'm on a 90s WWF kick.
Uh-oh.
And
could it be?
My favorite cage match of all time.
Could it be?
SummerSlam 94.
Yes!
Bret Hart versus Owen Hart.
Yes!
All time favorite.
Yes!
I mean,
mine too.
Oh, that killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Woo!
I mean, and we didn't even discuss it.
Right.
That's crazy. We didn't even discuss that before the show. We sort of jumped into it, but since we might as well both chime in and just
go ahead. That's it. When you said, I'm sorry, but when you said 90s and you said cage match, it could only be one.
I mean,
Ric Rude and Warrior was good.
Right.
Yeah, Foley and Triple H was good, but when you're talking about a pure, great cage match, and you're talking mid-90s, oh yeah.
I mean, it's just, Bret Hart, when his title was probably one of my favorite titles of all time. Bret Hart probably would have been my favorite wrestler of all time. He's my #2 because of Shawn Michaels is my #1 because of his career lasted longer. That might be the only reason.
Okay.
I'm a Shawn Michaels fan because of Bret Hart, because I love their feud. That might be my all-time favorite wrestling feud of all time.
Okay.
And I love all his work he did in the 90s, especially with Owen. Even the WrestleMania match, WrestleMania 10 in Madison Square Garden, they had great chemistry in the ring. Naturally, brothers, they all learned to say they know each other in and out. They put on a technically sound match while telling a story around the cage.
Right.
It wasn't just, we have a match, the cage has to be around us. No, they were able to stay true to what they know, but then incorporate a cage to make it that much more brutal between the two. And then the finish, you know what I'm saying? The way they had Owens hanging from his knees, and Bret Hart, getting out is just. Owen had been pestering Bret Hart for the longest time. Even back to when Bret Hart was beefing with Bob Backlund. Then Owen began to first be put over by Bret Hart because Owen was sort of in and out of different storylines with Coco Beware early on in his career.
Right.
But then when he had the match, I believe it was that Survivor Series where Keith. Did Bruce come out of retirement? Was it Keith and Bruce?
It was Keith
and Bruce,
Brett,
and Owen.
Yep, Keith, Bruce, Brett, and Owen.
And they came out of retirement to face Shawn Michaels and his team, and that's when.
Do anybody know who those knights were?
That's who they really were.
Yeah.
That is a good question.
Aha! Mr. Main Event. I know these things.
A little wrestling trivia for you.
Yeah, well, I would do a trivia, but for the fans out there, I've already said it.
Okay.
In the Brett versus Shawn, which, we're going to have to do that one again. We're going to have a Brett versus Shawn too, because this is a big Shawn Michaels fan also,
Oh, no,
and I'm gonna have a special guest on this one. I'm gonna call one of Brett's biggest fans on this one. Yeah.
I don't know about that, baby. I might say somebody else.
Oh no. No, I said Brett's biggest fan, not Shawn's biggest fan.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
That could get interesting.
Yeah.
See, we just got ideas flowing all the time.
Yeah, but now let me let people know who them 3 knights were. Shawn Michaels said, you remember it's supposed to be Jerry Lawler, but Jerry Lawler left WWE.
Right.
So they put in Barry Horowitz was the Red Knight.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, interesting.
Greg the Hammer Valentine was the Blue one.
Are you sure? I gotta go watch that again.
And Jeff Gaylord was the black one.
Wow.
You know, like I said, you know.
See, we know our stuff around here.
Exactly.
We're historians.
That's why we're the wrestling realm. Like I said, we know our stuff, and we don't care what any of you think. But yeah, this was a great cage match. Just another one. You know, I'm thinking, dang, you know, that's one thing I said, I had the best grandmother because she ordered a lot of wrestling pay-per-views for me.
Right.
And this was another one of those SummerSlams.
It's something about these SummerSlams for some reason.
I know, she was great, man.
SummerSlam in the 90s was just like...
I remember the last pay-per-view we had together was WrestleMania 17. You know, and she rest in peace, but I remember sitting up there in the room watching this and rooting for Brett. Like, no, Owens about no, you know. Right. These two, like you said, told a story.
Yeah.
You know, all throughout because let's go back to the King of the Ring. Okay. Bret Hart defends the title to Big Daddy Cool. Right. We defends the title against Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Mm-hmm. You had Owen win the King of the Ring that night. And then go around talking about he's the King of Hearts.
I remember that. And
then when Bret is about to get jackknifed, I think he was jackknifed, and Diesel looks as if he's about to win the title. Here comes Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who many people thought he was being kind of like a mediator between the two. But in fact, the only thing he was doing said he wanted to save Bret so that Owen could beat him. You know, so that was real interesting. You know, and that's what I liked about those two because they could wrestle each other here, wrestle each other, go away from each other, then come back and wrestle. These two put on a good match at the Action Zone.
And see, and that's the thing. Not a lot of people can do that. Can really take the level of an event to a different level because of them, not because of them being on that particular program. Yeah. I mean, it never got old for me. You know?
Right, you know. And that's why, if you guys don't have it, make sure you go out there and check out the WWE's Greatest Championship Matches. That is why it is on that DVD also.
Definitely is.
You know. Any final thoughts?
Honorable mentions. Actually, honorable mentions.
Now. Okay. Well, while you get ready, I got one. Okay. And, you know, when you think of cage matches, the real Dwayne Allen said it. I gotta just make a formal honorable mention to it because a lot of people will say, why isn't this a part of my list? And the reason why, because it's not one of those cage matches I remember sitting up there being a fan while it happened because I wasn't born. But these five, I remember these matches as they happened. I was right there watching them. Okay. This one, without a doubt, Jimmy Superfly Snuka versus Bob Backlund for the WWF Championship. Madison Square Garden. Yeah, you know, this is it just has to be mentioned. When you think of cage matches, this set the standard for cage matches, you know. So, you know, with all due respect, both of these incredible men, you know, if they're out there watching, I want to say thank you for giving us those memories of that night, you know. It was great. Definitely. But, you know, like you said, honorable mention.
I have a few honorable mentions. I'll start off, I guess, from the least to highest, even if ranked my honorable mentions. Starting off with another TNA pay-per-view, TNA's Turning Point in 2004. Oh, okay. TNA's was started to just step into their own in Nashville. America's Most Wanted versus Christopher Daniels and Elix Skipper. Okay. They were known as Triple X at the time. Didn't make sense, but
you had to check that out.
America's Most Wanted was I actually have it on TNA's the first, I think it's the Best of the Bloodiest Brawls DVD I think they originally had. And it was probably one of the most craziest matches. They got a crazy spot where Elix Skipper is on top of the cage and he's trailing the cage and then he does a Hurricane Rana on top of the cage onto I'm not sure if it was James Storm or Chris Harris. But it was probably one of the most intense cage matches. Another six sides of steel match that was pretty intense. That's my honorable mention. Another honorable mention I had was Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk on SmackDown 2009. His Lisa loses WWE match. Yeah. When Jeff decided to leave WWE and I guess go to TNA or whatever.
Don't get any break. Break down.
Yeah. He's be crying. Anyway. That was a good match. CM Punk and Matt Hardy says a lot. you know, they were beefing at one point, but he does make a point. Jeff Hardy really took CM Punk to a different level.
Okay.
You know, he really got him over as a, like I said, as a legit main event guy. A lot of times guys get into the main event and can easily fall out.
Yeah.
Jack Swagger, you know, a lot of different people like Jack Swagger.
Who?
Jack Swagger.
What? He was in the main event?
He was a world champion. Yeah.
I think he was when the title needed a break.
That's messed up. Anyway, it's jacked up. But yeah, I mean, he was a transitional champion, but still, you know, Chris Jericho needed a break. But yeah, that was a decent match. You know, of course, you know, Jeff Hardy's crazy, crazy spots that he does. Last but not least, I guess for my honorable mentions as of right now, I might think of something later, but too bad. This is what it's going to be for today. Bret Hart versus Diesel in your house. I'm not sure what year it was. I'm not sure if it was 95 or 96.
When The Undertaker came out?
Yeah, when The Undertaker came out.
1996.
That's what I thought, 96.
Right before WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's when I guess they were ending the feud between him and Bret, and Diesel and Undertaker began to...
Right.
Was still going at it.
Well, it was more so, not because Diesel and Bret didn't have a feud. It was more so...
Diesel was chasing the championship.
Yeah, Diesel lost the title to Bret. Didn't feel like he got a good rematch. And then he lost. He was crying because Shawn kicked him out of Royal Rumble. So he had that he's not cool. He lost his smile episode. And then, you know, that's when he turned on Shawn after Shawn, you know, won the belt. It was crazy.
Yeah, man. It was just one of those things. I mean, I think the finish was the funniest part.
Oh, yeah.
Undertaker coming up out the ring, and you see the box cutter cutting the ring apron. I mean, not the ring, the canvas, and hold him in there, and a little smoke blew up, and it's a good finish. You know,
Undertaker rise up. Also, did he send up? Or I gotta check it out.
I don't.
It seemed like I remember them saying that happened. The commentators. But nonetheless, yeah, Diesel getting Undertaker took him to hell.
Yeah, that's what it signified. You know, it was creepy, and Diesel really sold it too. You know what I'm saying? He's 6'12", but yet you sit in a cage match and somebody comes out the ring and starts pulling you in.
Remember that Royal Rumble when they crossed paths as Undertaker was coming out and Diesel was walking back? I'm not scared of the dark.
Yeah,
I'm not scared of the dark. What? But hey, he was good. Kevin Nash, Diesel, whatever you want, Vinny Vegas.
No, we know. We will not know. So you was cool till you said Vinny Vegas. We will not do that.
Yeah.
Character matters, folks.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, so Character Matters. That's our next episode. Thank you for joining us here at the Wrestling Realm. He is the real Dwayne Allen. I am Mr. Main Event BDuB. Check us out. YouTube.com/Wrestling Realm. UltimateSportsTalk.com/Wrestling Realm. Last but not least, Twitter/Wrestling Realm. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments or concerns, or you like to book us, make sure you check us out at WrestlingRealm@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.